After 2 years of neglect, my ex berated me, "You're nothing, go back to your family." I finally broke free and moved home with just 200 left. Now I'm crushing on a sweet guy who gets my struggles, but is it too soon to fall for him? I've been treated like garbage before, can I trust again? I recently broke up with my ex-partner of 2 years because he began to stop appreciating me. I tried to resolve our issues, but it seemed to only worsen as he pulled away more. For the past 2 years, he had not done anything for our anniversary, and for our second year, we only got ramen and went home. He also did nothing for my birthday, and for my birthday party the next day, I had given him months' notice and he promised he would stay and be there. However, not even an hour into my birthday party, he left without informing me and I learned from a friend. Gradually, I distanced myself and started observing him. He was behaving like he used to and we rarely went on dates. Before I broke up with him for the first time, I attempted to discuss things with him, but he did not respond to my questions or say anything. He only got annoyed and went to work. After talking to some friends at work, I decided to break up with him. I sent him a paragraph explaining how I had been feeling and how I had tried to fix things and communicate with him, but he seemed to neither understand nor care about our relationship. He reacted by cursing at me, calling me names, and claiming I was worthless and had nowhere to go. I left him on read because I was working, and at the end of my shift, he sent an apology, insisting he did not mean it, that he loved me, and that he promised to improve. I know I was foolish for taking him back, but our reconciliation lasted only a week before he broke up with me again, and that was when I was done with him. However, I do not understand what caused him to change. I am usually friendly and shy, but when we worked together at a company, I met some of his friends, one of whom was a 27-year-old man. We started talking because my ex would often arrive late or miss work altogether. After I stopped working with my ex, I began playing Call of Duty and my ex also played with him. Eventually, they got into a small argument, causing my ex to stop playing with this friend. I then started playing on the friend's account, and one day he added me to play, mistakenly thinking I was my ex. We began playing together frequently on our days off, and my ex was aware and had no objections. One day, this friend added another friend who also thought I was my ex until he was corrected that I was the girlfriend. We all began talking, playing, and having fun. When my ex came home from work and asked who I had been playing with, I told him the truth. He simply lay down and told me to have fun. Before this happened, he had warned me to be cautious around them, stating they were untrustworthy. I never picked up on any negative vibes from them until the time my ex had to leave for work around 10 p.m. He kissed me goodbye and left, and the friends began asking questions about my relationship with my ex. I was honest and shared everything, including how we met, and they revealed that my ex had told them things I was unaware of. For instance, he had mentioned our daily intimacy, how good I was at it, and even showed one of them an intimate photo of me. Moreover, he made jokes about his previous abusive relationships. He made some comments that were not funny at all, specifically jokes about how he had broken up with one of his exes. That was when I started to pull away slowly. I confronted my ex about what I had heard, and he dodged my questions, getting angry that I was listening to them instead of him. He pointed out that I had only known them for a couple of weeks while I had known him for nearly 2 years, so I eventually dropped the topic. Perhaps I shouldn't have, but after he broke up with me in March, I continued to speak with those friends, seeking their advice. They pointed out that the way my ex treated me was unacceptable and encouraged me to talk to my family, saying that I was known only as my ex's girlfriend and not for who I truly was. I had my ex's initials tattooed on my hip and I covered it up myself. When he found out about it, he exploded in anger. I was completely done with him at that point. I moved to another room upstairs and slept separately from him for about 2 or 3 weeks. Toward the end of March, I was helping one of his friends at work who said to text him when I was done since he had to leave. During that time, my ex blew up my phone, which made me upset and annoyed. So my friend took my phone and began texting my ex while I caught him in some lies. My ex claimed he never did something when he actually had, stating he lied to upset me. After I got off work, my ex called and threatened to harm my cat. I rushed home to check on her. She was okay but shaken. He was not home, so I stayed on the phone with my friend. However, toward the end of the week, my ex started treating me poorly again. I decided to go out for some fresh air. When he woke up from work, he bombarded my phone again, demanding to know where I was and what I was doing. I lied and said I was with my friend. At that point, we were completely done. Eventually, he asked me to see him so we could finally talk. When I arrived, we began discussing everything, but he exploded at me, accusing me of cheating, which I had never even considered. I told him I had not come to be yelled at, and he insisted he was not yelling. He simply wanted to know why I had broken up with him. I became angry and reminded him that I had broken up with him first, then took him back. He had promised to change, especially on our anniversary, but he did not follow through. He broke up with me and was now confused as to why I was being cold and distant. He never listened to my needs or acknowledged how his jokes made me feel. It took months of me telling him to stop before he finally did. We sat in silence for a moment and he asked if I still loved him. I replied that I did, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. He suggested we could work it out if I blocked those friends because they were the reason for our falling out. I did not respond right away, so he gave me an ultimatum. It was either him or them, and if I wanted to stay in a relationship with him, we had to try one last time. I chose them, which was painful and uncomfortable. When I asked him to stop, he became angry and threatened to call the police on me because it was his car that I had been paying for over the past 2 years. I asked how I was supposed to get home, and he stated it was not his problem. We started arguing, and he tried to disable something in the car's hood to prevent it from starting. I put my hand in the way, and he began to hit it hard. Once he stopped and removed the part, I sat in the car crying and shaking. I called the police, and when they arrived, he came out again, and we spoke to the officers separately. Neither of us pressed charges, so they let him fix the car and allowed me to drive home. This occurred around 3 a.m. Shortly before this altercation, I had also stopped communicating with my friend. When I returned home, I attempted to break down the door because there really was no proper door to the room. I eventually passed out and woke up to my ex shining his phone light in my face, yelling that he wanted me gone and claiming he had blacklisted my phone so I could not contact anyone. He said he was recording for his safety. When I tossed my phone aside, he accused me of trying to hit him with it. When I stood up to retrieve it, he struggled to take it from me and shoved me, causing me to hit my rib on a dresser. I dropped the phone, but when I picked it up again and turned to face him, I felt his knuckle connect with my upper lip hard and I heard a snap. My mouth began to bleed and I yelled and cried, begging him to leave me alone and to get away from me. This entire incident occurred at 8 a.m. when his brother ran upstairs, questioning what had happened. When he glanced at me and saw my hand on my mouth, he instructed my ex to go into his room to calm down. After my ex complied, his brother returned with a bowl, napkins, and water to make sure I was okay. He apologized for how he had treated me that day. Throughout the day until his shift, he kept checking on me, inquiring if I needed anything, bringing me food and drinks, and assuring me that if his brother attempted to approach me again, I should call for him and he would come. After he left, I calmed down enough to text my friend about what had occurred, and I sent him a photo. That's when my other friend reached out to me again, warning me not to lie and say anything inappropriate to my friend. I showed him the photo, and he called me, asking numerous questions about my well-being. He even requested my ex's number, which I provided, and I guess he warned my ex that hitting women is unacceptable. He stated that if he or his friends did not hear from me by the end of the day, they would come to remove me from that situation, and if he did not address my tooth, he would face consequences. Later that day, my ex came back to my room, attempting to love bomb me and apologize. He claimed he had set up an appointment that day for me to get my tooth fixed. After we got the filler, he continued to act nice and loving, but emotionally I had completely shut him out. That was the third time he had laid hands on me, and I could not endure it any longer. On March 30, I woke up, did my makeup, and he tried to talk to me about starting over, insisting that he never intended to hit me or break my tooth, suggesting we should try for a child to fix our relationship. Before I left for work, I told him that no matter how upset or angry I had been with him, I never hit him, and I would not want to bring a child into this toxic situation since there was nothing stopping him from harming them. I left for work, and he began to flip out because he refused to accept my stance after I repeatedly stated that I did not see a future with him. He threatened to have the car towed, but before that could happen, my manager, bless her heart, sent me on my meal break. I sat in the car crying my eyes out and texted my sister and brother about whether mom would talk to me again. They told me I would have to ask her. Swallowing my pride, I called my dad, who answered, and I asked if mom was home because I really needed to talk to her. He went upstairs, woke her up, and relayed my request. I could hear them arguing until he said my name, and my mom coldly stated she did not want to speak to me. He urged her to just talk to me, and when she finally took the phone, I broke down in tears, apologizing and admitting that I understood I had messed up. I acknowledged that no matter what I did, it would not fix the hurt I had caused, but I truly missed her, needed her, and promised that if she gave me one more chance, I would never again choose a relationship over my family. I disclosed to her that my ex had been hitting me and that I wanted to come home. As soon as she heard that, she asked where I was. She admitted she was hurt by my actions, but emphasized that I was her daughter and should never experience abuse. She asked when I would finish work, and I told her I would be done at 10 p.m. She told me she would be there with my brother to collect most of my belongings. When my meal break ended, I returned inside, hugged my boss, and thanked her for everything she had done for me. When my ex came to tow the car, I gathered all my things and used my coworker's car to transport my belongings until the end of my shift. By the time my shift ended, I hugged all my coworkers goodbye and wished them the best. Once I retrieved my items from my coworker's car, my brother came out, and I hugged him, crying and apologizing for being a poor sister. We then went to my ex's house, picked up my cat and most of the necessary clothes, and I had access to my bank account, leaving with 200. However, when I left my old house, I had 1,400, having worked nearly 2 straight years. As we drove back to my original home, my brother offered to assist me financially if I worked with him on certain tasks, assuring me I would be compensated for my efforts. Initially, I resisted, but he insisted that it was the least he could do for me, so I eventually accepted his offer. Since returning home and reconnecting with my family while opening up about my relationship experiences, I began to recognize many red flags and flaws that I should have noticed earlier. Now I am much happier, feeling more energized than ever. My friends, along with my brother and my friend, noted the change and expressed their happiness for my return to my normal self. I began developing feelings for my brother's friend before moving back home. I'm unsure if it stems from our similar experiences or the fact that we enjoy a lot of common interests, sharing good laughs together. Although I started to crush on him, I am aware that he has feelings for me too. However, I worry I may not be good enough for him or that he deserves someone better, and I question whether I am moving on too quickly. I feel that he should find someone closer to his age. I get jealous when he talks to other girls and he has noticed, teasing me about it. He is genuinely sweet and funny, making it easy to be around him, yet I am still confused about my feelings for him. He has acknowledged that he shares similar feelings but wants to do things the right way. My anxiety is overwhelming, leaving me uncertain about what to do next. I apologize if this does not make sense or if my wording is incorrect. I am simply feeling confused and anxious, not knowing what to do. Story 2. Fell for my coworker, but she sees me as just a friend. After 3 years of playful teasing and sweet moments, I confessed my feelings, only to be told it's childish. Now she's back and my heart's in turmoil. Can I finally win her over? Hello Reddit, this is my first ever post. I am not entirely sure if this is the right subreddit, but I wanted to share my thoughts and seek some advice about my situation. I have a feeling this will turn into a short novel, so please grab some snacks and a drink. It all began 3 years ago when I joined this company. At that time, I was 19 and she was 28. I was a bundle of nerves and disliked changing jobs. I had previously held only one job, which I maintained for 3 years. My anxiety regarding the environmental change stemmed mostly from my insecurities. I am a transgender man and had not started testosterone yet at that time. As I write this, I have a full beard, hair everywhere, and look like a small, hairy guy. Anyway, on my first day, I noticed her immediately. She had a different demeanor than everyone else, more closed off and quiet but confident. She looked very familiar, and it later became clear that she frequently visited my previous workplace, though we never actually interacted. Fast forward to a few days later when I began to feel a bit more confident. I was heading to the train station after work when a car pulled up next to me. It was her. She asked me if I would like a lift. I was slightly taken aback, and instead of saying, "Sure, that would be great if you could take me to the train station," I asked, "Where do you live?" I wanted to know how far she could take me without straying too far from her home. She gave me a concerned look. I felt embarrassed, but I did not show it. I quickly suggested that she could just take me to the station since I could see she was becoming uncomfortable with my question. In the car, it was a bit warm. I commented on it, and she instantly turned on the air conditioning without saying a word. This caught my attention as it demonstrated her care. She dislikes the cold, so the temperature was likely perfect for her before she turned on the AC. As we drew closer to the station, a song I really liked began to play. Again, I mentioned how much I liked it, and she turned up the volume for me. That short ride of less than 10 minutes revealed to me how caring and kind she is. Additionally, she is such a hard worker and a stunning woman. Over the next week or two, our friendship began to develop. Then one day she mentioned that her boyfriend was going to pick us up as he needed to use the car that day. At that time, my feelings were just beginning to emerge, and I was merely acknowledging her kind gestures. When he picked us up, I sensed something was off. There was a strange tension in the air. They did not appear happy to see each other. That was understandable. Perhaps they were arguing or going through something, but it felt off. They dropped me off and I went on my merry way. I found out later that he was leaving to return to their home country on his own, promising her that he would come back, but he never did. This left her in tears, which broke my heart. He was the reason they had moved here, and then he left her behind and broke up with her a few months after he had left. At work, she would tease me and seemed to be more open with me than with others, even though they had been working together for a few months longer. She would mess with my chair, playfully trip me, and mess around with my desk. It likely wasn't flirtatious, but rather just playful behavior. She would often spot me walking around town and stop just to take me to where I was going. On one occasion, I did not notice her, and she literally chased me with her car until I saw her and got in. She also picked up my younger brother, and when he mentioned he was cold, she turned up the heat for him. That's when my feelings began to deepen. All the attention, playfulness, and affection from these little gestures made me fall for her. After a few months, it became unbearable to keep my emotions inside. A significant part of my love language is gift giving, so I felt compelled to get her something. I bought her chocolates and a card, which marked the beginning of my gift giving to her, from chocolates in her coat pockets to embroidered flowers for special occasions. Yes, I learned how to embroider for her. In the letter, I did not reveal my full feelings, but I did express my gratitude for her efforts to take me to the station, for all the little things she had done, and that her kindness had not gone unnoticed. I described how amazing she is, how big her heart is, and how caring and hardworking she is. I noted that not many people are like this in the world today. She initially thought I was leaving the company, but I reassured her that it was just a gift of appreciation. As my feelings intensified, so did my jealousy. I became envious of every man who interacted with her and every man she interacted with. I struggled to suppress this jealousy, convincing myself that she was happy, that there was nothing between us, and that we barely spoke. I reasoned that if my feelings were genuine, I would be happy to see her smile, no matter who was responsible for it. Eventually, when it all became too overwhelming, I made a decision that drastically changed our relationship. I distanced myself. I did not communicate these feelings, so from her perspective, it likely appeared that I suddenly wanted nothing to do with her. The playfulness, attention, and lifts ended. I felt terrible, but believed it was necessary for my own mental well-being. I told myself that I could not compete with biological men and that I would only end up hurting more. This type of behavior persisted for several months. Ultimately, my heart could not take it any longer and I felt terrible for distancing myself. I wanted to apologize for ruining our friendship. I asked if we could talk and we did. Perhaps the beginning was not ideal, as I realize now it sounded accusatory. I expressed that I felt our friendship had changed, to which she immediately responded, "And you think it's my fault?" I then explained everything, that it was all my doing, that I had developed feelings for her, which had caused me to distance myself, and how sorry I was for making her feel this way. She could not understand how I had developed feelings if there was nothing between us initially. She expressed that she only sees us as friends, which I accepted. I never anticipated that she would reciprocate my feelings, as there had been no real signs indicating that. She remarked that to her, my behavior sounded childish, and then began discussing work and how others had been affected by it, particularly one man, which I found rather confusing as we were discussing our feelings. Ultimately, that concluded our conversation. She ended with, "I don't know what to say anymore, I'm going to go." When we returned to our workstations, it was not as awkward as I had feared, though it was a bit tense as expected. After a few minutes, I initiated the conversation again. She mentioned that she was going back to her home country, rendering all of this irrelevant, which surprised me. At that point, I thought it was now or never, to be completely honest. So I wrote her a long letter in her native language, expressing my regret once again for disrupting our friendship and stating that I should have communicated my feelings rather than remaining silent. I expressed my hope that she finds happiness, someone who will care for her, love her from the first day they met until they grow old together, someone who looks forward to seeing her after a long day apart, someone who cannot wait to kiss her forehead and hear her voice when she returns home from work, someone who loves her for who she is. I proclaimed that she is the most beautiful woman in the world and highlighted how amazing and special she is, how pure and kind her heart is. I described how she made her language sound so beautiful that it inspired me to learn it in order to communicate with her, mainly to impress her, but ultimately revealed that I had fallen in love with her. I included a note she had given me when I first joined. She had cut a heart-shaped message from the material we use at work to write me, which was not particularly special, just work-related. However, the fact that she took the time to cut it into a heart shape stuck with me, and I had kept it in my locker all this time. After 2 weeks, it was time to say goodbye sooner than I had anticipated. We hugged goodbye and I left the note by her locker. However, I never received a response. I was absolutely devastated. I cried for about 30 minutes knowing that I would never see her again. Then 3 months after her departure, I heard from a colleague that she was returning. I felt strange. I had mostly moved on by this point, but to be honest, I was probably just burying my feelings instead of addressing them. When I heard the news, I became very excited and could hardly believe it was happening. My thoughts were chaotic. I convinced myself that she was returning because she had changed her mind about me and that she had read the letter and realized she actually had feelings for me. Finally, the day arrived and I could not hide my smile. To be fair, she was smiling as well, though it felt friendly. The beginning was a little awkward, however, it quickly became reminiscent of how it used to be. By then, I had started testosterone, which boosted my confidence. My voice changed, and overall, I had transformed into a different person, as had she. I could feel and see that we both had improved during those 3 months apart. From then until now, we have continued to grow, and it has been a pleasure and an honor to witness her come out of her shell, laugh, and simply be her goofy, humorous self, because yes, she is also funny. She is genuinely the complete package. Any man who gets the chance to be with her will be the luckiest guy in the world. She deserves everything she gives to others and the sacrifices she makes for herself. After some time, I gained enough confidence to come out to her. Our bond grew stronger and became even better than when we first met. I decided it was time. I told her that I was transgender, to which she simply responded, "Cool," as if there was not much else to say. I also asked if she had read the letter. She told me she had. During that time, she had a lot going on, her boyfriend breaking up with her, stress from work, and other issues, which left her mentally exhausted. Thus, my confession, on top of everything else, frustrated her. She expressed disbelief regarding my feelings, stating she thought I was lying about everything I had said, even when I asserted that I was transgender. I reassured her that I would never fabricate such a thing and reiterated everything I had expressed in the letter, not word for word, but the key points detailing how I found her to be beautiful and amazing and my hope that she sees it in herself one day. I acknowledged that I understood we would never be together, but that she would always hold a special place in my heart. I urged her to be completely honest with me about anything and promised that I would never judge her for what she said. She mentioned that she thought I was funny and that she felt she could be herself around me, that I understood her, and that I was one of two people in her life with whom she could fully express herself without fear of judgment. Those words genuinely warmed my heart. For the most part, our friendship remained within the workplace. We did not message or meet outside of work except for work-related events. However, everything was fine and I no longer felt as jealous as I had previously. We had a good connection at work. Nonetheless, one thing always saddened me: I wanted more. I wanted to connect with her outside of work, but every time I reached out she would either ignore me or respond bluntly, which conflicted with what she had previously shared. A few months later, I temporarily moved to the night shift, seeing my team only occasionally for brief periods each week. However, during those times when I saw her, it was the highlight of my week. I began to sense that she might have feelings for me based on the looks and smiles she gave me whenever she spotted me. She seemed genuinely happy to see me come into the room. This brings us to today. I am still on the night shift but will soon return to days. Nevertheless, my feelings have begun to resurface and are entering a dangerously obsessive territory, something I have experienced before. I am unable to sleep because all I think about is her. I have started writing poems to express these feelings, which only help for a short time. I have tried therapy, but that has not been effective. Therefore, Reddit, please provide me with some advice on how to move on or help me decipher this situation so I can better understand it and manage these feelings. Thank you.